America's leader in mobile homes. And by Citgo, the tough guys. You're looking at one of the showplaces of stock car racing, the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It is a scorching hot October day, and we expect a hot race on the racetrack today. This could be the most competitive Busch Grand National race of the season. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Hogwood. Working along with me today will be Jerry Punch. And, Jerry, when we get down to these final races of the year, we're talking about national championship, the points race. It's still anybody's game.
It really is, Mike. In fact, you know, the five-time national champion, Jack Ingram, seemed to have everything under control 3 weeks ago, and then tragedy struck. Ingram was placed on suspension. He was given a $5,000 fine by NASCAR for a driving incident up at Asheville Motor Speedway. He has missed 2 races. Now he is making his first start since the middle of September. He is now 85 points behind Larry Pearson and Brett Bodine, so it's anybody's race for the national title.
Well, when you talk about super speedways, the Busch Grand National regulars haven't done all that well.
Well, that's putting it mildly, Mike. You know, this year, all 7 super speedway races have been won by Winston Cup regulars. Earnhardt has won 3. Waltrip has won 2. Tim Richmond and Morgan Shepherd have won the other 2. So not since 1983, when Sam Ard won here at Charlotte, has a Busch Grand National regular won here at this speedway, and Ard has since retired.
All right, working along with us today down on pit road will be Rich Brenner. And Rich is going to tell us now a little bit more about what's going to be under the hood of these cars today.
There's a trend developing in stock car racing which would be very interesting to watch in today's race, and that is the move to the 6-cylinder, the V6 engine. This is the direction U.S. automakers are headed, and if Detroit's going that way, well, you know that stock car racing is going to follow. Overall, 12 cars in our starting field today will have V6 engines, including pole sitter Dale Earnhardt and the fastest man in yesterday's final practice session, Tommy Houston, in car number 6. 6-cylinder cars are 100 pounds lighter than their 8-cylinder counterparts. 3,350 pounds for the 6s, 3,450 for the 8s. Now, as the race wears on and the racetrack gets hot and slick, the lighter cars should have the handling advantage. And remember that Charlotte is a handling racetrack.
And also working with us down on pit road today will be Glenn Jarrett, a former driver on this circuit. And Glenn, I know some friends of yours stand to make a lot of extra money today.
That's absolutely right, Mike. There is a $25,000 Born to Race challenge being paid to any Busch Grand National Series regular driver that can win today's race. Born to Race is a full-length feature film being made about Busch Grand National Racing, and a couple of months ago they posted a challenge to any driver that could win today's race that is a Busch Series regular. There are 6 drivers that are eligible for this $25,000 bonus. Those drivers are Brett Bodine, Larry Pearson, L.D. Ottinger, Jack Ingram, Tommy Houston, and my younger brother Dale Jarrett. Now, all these guys have to do is go out here and beat these Winston Cup regulars, come home first in today's race. They've earned themselves an extra $25,000. That bonus, coupled with the winner's purse, could well earn them over $60,000 for winning today's race. That's a pretty doggone good incentive for anybody to go out and run hard all day long, try to win this race. Should be very interesting to watch.
You're exactly right, Glenn Jarrett, and I know those Grand National stars want to do well in the All-Pro Auto Parts 300 today. They want to look good in front of the Winston Cup drivers. They'd like to be on that circuit someday. As I mentioned just a moment ago, it is a scorching hot day here at Charlotte. 85 degrees, well above normal for this time of year. It's much hotter than that down on the racetrack. 57% humidity. The winds are light and variable. Not much wind down there, believe me. Sunny and hot, the forecast today. It's going to be a test on these machines, a test on the tires, and most of all, a test on the driver. I believe Glenn Jarrett is standing down now with Jack Ingram in car number 11. Glenn, Jack all buckled in now?
I am alongside of Jack Ingram, 5-time national champion, who was on his way to an unprecedented 6th title until a few weeks ago with his suspension. Jack, you had a 251-point lead at that time. Now you're 85 points behind. Has this changed the way that you're going to run today's race?
Well, it won't change much. We run always as hard as we can go, and that's what we're going to do today, and hope we have a good finish, maybe gain some points.
Well, you're also eligible, one of the 6 drivers eligible for a $25,000 bonus. That's got to make you want to charge a little bit to get up front and try to take home that money.
Well, yeah, that's certainly an incentive. Although I say again, we race hard as we can most every place, but it certainly would be nice to get that $25,000 extra.
Do you feel like you have the car to take home first place today?
Well, yeah, this car is capable of winning. It's won more races on the series than anybody, so Yeah, it's capable.
Well, that car, of course, is capable, but the man that Jack Ingram, the rest of the field, are going to have to catch is Dale Earnhardt. He's on the pole today, and Rich Brenner is standing down now with Dale Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhardt is going after his 4th Busch Grand National win of the season. And Dale, I know being from just 10 miles up the road in Kannapolis, you'd love to do it here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
I would. You know, it's our home track, and we always seem to run good here. It'd be nice to win here today.
What are you expecting out of this race today? It's very hot. The track's going to be slick, and you've got a lot of inexperienced drivers out there.
Well, you always do here at Charlotte have inexperienced drivers, but this is where you get your start at, and you know, hopefully a Winston Cup opportunity. And you know, it'll be slick, and there'll be some drivers out there, but hopefully everybody have a good day, and we'll have a good race.
Dale, thank you very much. Good luck to you today.
We're alongside of Tommy Houston now. Tommy, in yesterday's final practice session, you seem to have the fastest car. Do you think you can win the race today?
Well, Glenn, yeah, I believe we've got a shot at the race today. With the Buick V6 and Southern Biscuit Flyer behind us, you know, I think we've got a good shot, and we did run some quick times yesterday. I'm going to try to keep everything straight and, you know, run 300 laps, stay in the same lap with the leaders, or if I am the leader, then go on for the win.
Well, the command has just been given down on pit road to fire up these engines, and we hear the roar all up and down as some 42 cars will start today's race. Jerry Punch, I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to a good one.
I think it'll be a super race, Mike. In fact, you know, we've talked about the Winston Cup stars that have dominated for so long here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, but I think, and I want to go on record predicting it, I think one of the Busch Grand National regulars will break through today. I think Brett Bodine has a super chance. Ingram is thirsty, hungry to get back and try to put that suspension behind him. He'd like to run well. L.D. Ottinger qualified well. Tommy Houston, coming off a super run at Dover, Delaware a few weeks ago, he was the strongest car in practice yesterday, so Houston may be a factor. I think one of the Busch regulars may have a shot to win today.
Well, as you mentioned a moment ago in our opening, history doesn't seem to say that that's the way things will happen today. It hasn't happened very often this year. It hasn't happened very much in the past. In our front row is the Winston Cup front row of Earnhardt and Bodine, and I think those two cars, if they can stay together all day, will be there at the finish, and one of the Grand National drivers is going to have to be one of those two guys.
I think Earnhardt and Bodine, with their experience on the big tracks, will definitely be the two to beat. However, I think those two cars will go out and they may eliminate each other because Bodine doesn't want to get too far behind Earnhardt, and likewise Earnhardt with Bodine. They'll go out, they'll probably try to pull away in a two-car draft and leave Larry Pearson and Brett behind. But Brett Bodine already knows if he lets Earnhardt and older brother Jeff get away, it could be over early here in Charlotte.
We have mentioned the heat several times today so far. Will it be a factor in this race? We're going 200 laps, 300 miles. Is that enough for the heat to be a factor?
I think it is. I think the track itself is a factor. You know, the heat is certainly a problem to deal with for 300 miles. But as you heard Earnhardt say a little bit ago, that there's a problem possibly with the track. The track may get a little bit slippery over in the corners, and I think Earnhardt figures that the cars are going to be running up awfully high, even up toward the wall early in the racetrack.
Well, as the cars are making their way down off of pit road for the pace laps, the Kyle Petty car had some trouble getting fired. He's fired and now rolling along. Let's meet the starting lineup for today's field on row one. And the pole with a qualifying speed of 161.599. It's Dale Earnhardt out of Mooresville in the Goodrich Pontiac. Alongside him on the front row, Jeff Bodine of Chemung, New York, in the Levi Garrett Exxon Pontiac with a qualifying speed of 161.585 miles an hour. Row two, it's Brett Bodine, Jeff's brother from Chemung, New York, in the Thomas Brothers Country Ham Exxon Oldsmobile, and Larry Pearson, the current points leader, car 21 from Spartanburg, South Carolina, in the Chattanooga Shoe Chevrolet. On row three, it's L.D. Ottinger of Newport, Tennessee, in the All-Pro Auto Parts Buick, and Darrell Waltrip in car 17 out of Franklin, Tennessee, in the Budweiser Colonial Bred Pontiac. On row four, Tommy Houston in car 6 out of Hickory in the Southern Biscuit Flour Buick, and Davey Allison, car 28, in the Allison Racing Buick. On row 5, Jack Ingram in car 11 out of Asheville in the Pantry Skull Bandit Oldsmobile, and Rick Mass out of Rockbridge, Bath, Virginia, in the A.G. Dillard Incorporated Pontiac. On row 6, car 32 is Dale Jarrett of Hickory, North Carolina, in the Nationwide Auto Parts Pontiac, and car 77 is Morgan Shepard out of Conover, North Carolina, in the CV Drug Company Buick. The rest of your starting lineup: 75 is Brad Teague, 84 is Mike Alexander, row 8 Brett Hearn and Kyle Petty, who is in car 47, row 9 is Rodney Howard and Haskell Willingham, Billy Standridge and Kenny Burks make up row 10, row 11 Bobby Allison, veteran Winston Cup performer, and also Bill Elliott, who is in car 88 today. Row 12 Dave Mater III in car 69 and Bobby Hillen Jr., row 13 Ernie Irvin and Michael Goldberg, row 14 is Mike Bonicelli and Alan Powell. On row 15, Ronnie Silver, car 14, Jimmy Hensley in car 63. Row 16 is Tony Warren and Merv Treichler. Row 17, Kenny Bouchard, Mark Scolo, Barry Bostic, Jimmy Lawson in row 18. And rounding out the field, Donnie Allison, Mike Porter, Joe Cudmore, Robert Ingram Jr., Charlie Luck, and Larry Pollard. We'll be back with the green flag and the start of the Charlotte 300 after these words from your local station. Go green. Mike Hogwood along Jerry Punch. And fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. It's Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine who lead these cars into turn 1. Row 2 is Brett Bodine and Larry Pearson. Pearson is in car 21. Kyle Petty had some trouble getting fired. His hood is down on his car, and he's back out on the racetrack as Earnhardt is your early leader coming out of turn 1. It is Bodine who slides into second place, and Brett Bodine, his brother, in a car you absolutely cannot miss, is making a move on the inside as they head into turn 3. And I know Brett Bodine wants to show early what he can do here, Jerry Punch.
I'm sure he does. One thing he did show just a minute ago was inexperience. He got caught down on the low side on the back straightaway and was out of the draft, and therefore a number of cars were able to pull around, one being Jeff Bodine, his older brother. But now Earnhardt looks like he's having everything his way, Mike. He's pulling away from him.
Well, Dale Earnhardt, a couple car length lead over Jeff Bodine. We saw this same thing in the May race here. Earnhardt loves to run well on this track. It's his home track. He said he's out here today to not only win this race for himself, but he wants to win it for his car owner, who's his wife, Teresa, and for the crew who spent so much time in the shop over near Earnhardt's home working on that car. And Dale Earnhardt out to a comfortable lead early in this race. Jeff Bodine, his brother Brett, and Larry Pearson are right behind him, along with L.D. Ottinger, who is now in 4th place. L.D. is another one who's put a lot of energy and efforts into this race, wants to make a strong showing here today. The battle is for second place as Earnhardt is out to about an 8-car length lead now. It is Brett Bodine who goes high on the racetrack, but his brother Jeff won't let him have any position, and no brotherly love shown there at all, as Bodine is probably going to lose 2, maybe 3 positions now as L.D. Ottinger gets under him, and L.D. Ottinger is now in 3rd place.
Well, L.D. Ottinger is certainly no stranger to Charlotte Motor Speedway. He sat on the pole here a number of times. There you see L.D. trying to make a move under Jeff Bodine. There's Brett behind him. The battle back behind them. You just see the tip of the Darrell Waltrip car. There's the battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on the screen as they go by. And the Waltrip car, the car number 17, back in the screen there, running in 5th spot. But Bodine, while those 3 cars battle, Mike, you know, Earnhardt's getting away. He's starting to pull away. He's got about a 15-car length lead now.
Let's talk about strategy in this race. It's not as long as some of the races that we see here in Charlotte. It's 300 laps, or 300 miles and 200 laps. Is the strategy to get out in front early and just try to hold it?
Well, I think you can use the car pretty much here without having to worry about using the car up or abusing the car. And Earnhardt's car is a very good race car. The engine is a V6 engine built by Dennis Fisher in Sun Valley, California. It's the engine he won all 3 races this year when he has been competitive. He's won, of course, earlier in the year. He won at Daytona. He won at Rockingham. And he also won a 3rd race this year. That, of course, at Richmond, Virginia. So the car is competitive. The engine is strong. And so he feels like he can push the car all day and not worry about it.
Well, L.D. Ottinger, who has won this Grand National Championship twice in his career, has now moved his car into 2nd place. And if he can hold that car together, it would be a great day for L.D. Ottinger if he would be able to somehow pull it off here today in the Charlotte 300.
And Bill Elliott now, one of the veteran Winston Cup campaigners, starting back in the pack. Elliott did not have a good qualifying run. In fact, the car wasn't even ready to qualify on the first day. They had to wait till the second day to qualify. So he started far back in the field, but he is starting to make a move up toward the front. Elliott started in 22nd spot, and that is a car that's formerly a Sam Ard car. That car won 60 races with Sam Ard aboard, was sold to Ed Whitaker, and now Elliott is aboard the car. Elliott drove the car, this car, earlier in the year at Road Atlanta, so it's certainly a competitive race car. We'll watch for him to make his move toward the front.
Seems strange to watch Bill Elliott driving in a Buick, too, and he normally drives that Ford Thunderbird on the Winston Cup circuit. Larry Pearson seems to have dropped back a bit since the beginning of the race. He started on the 2nd row. Here is Waltrip, who's really making a move. As you see him shooting by Jeff Bodine now on the outside. That's Brett Bodine in the 00 car. The 28 car moving in there. That is Davey Allison. That's the number he will campaign next year for Rookie of the Year on the Winston Cup circuit. Trying to get his fans used to the number here today as he's driving 28, the Allison racing car, and is driving it quite well. The battle now is for 3rd place. That's the battle for 3rd, and you see 4 cars. You throw a blanket over them. Any one of them could claim 3rd place now, and it's Darrell Waltrip who goes high and takes that 3rd spot away from Jeff Bodine. Bodine is back in 4th place, and Allison is currently running 5th.
Waltrip is in the car that won this race a year ago. He was not in the car. He had put Terry Labonte in the car because Waltrip wanted to take care of himself for that coveted Winston Cup Point Championship, and Labonte drove the car to victory here at Charlotte. But now Waltrip is back in that race car and trying to make a move. He is making a move by Jeff Bodine.
Well, they are really going side by side all the way around this racetrack. Jeff Bodine and Darrell Waltrip, 2 veteran Winston Cup drivers. It was just a few weeks ago at North Wilkesboro that those two battled it out for a Winston Cup win, and it was Waltrip getting the better of Jeff Bodine that day. And these guys remember things in battles week to week, and I'm sure that Jeff Bodine would like nothing to better than to take some position away from Darrell Waltrip right now. Bodine, as they come out of turn 4, is running 3rd. It is Waltrip who is running 4th. Bodine on the inside, and that is Brett Bodine, the 00 car. And these cars just running side by side around the racetrack. Seems to be a smooth race so far. Nobody taking a whole lot of chances. Everybody trying to stay out of trouble. We'll be back with more of the racing in Charlotte in a moment. Welcome back to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Mike Hogwood along with Jerry Punch for the All-Pro Auto Parts 300. We've had a great race so far. Looks like it's going to be a good day here. There you see Dale Earnhardt, who is still the leader, as we have completed 21 laps now. And Earnhardt has led all 21 laps. And here comes Bill Elliott up on the outside of Davey Allison. Allison is down low, and Elliott seems to have the stronger machine. That is the battle for 6th place, and it looks like, yes, Elliott is now in 6th place and will set his sights on now moving into the top 5. The 5th place car is Jeff Bodine, and you see Elliott now pulling up on his bumper. Brett Bodine is in 4th. He is immediately in front of Jeff, and Darrell Waltrip is running 3rd now, and they are way behind the 2 front runners, Dale Earnhardt and L.D. Ottinger. But this is where the real racing is, and this is where most of the fans in Charlotte seem to have their eyes on right now.
Well, there's the cars, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place battle back in the pack, and, you know, they realize that Earnhardt has moved away, and they're not really that concerned. I know there probably are going to be quite a few caution flags today, so they're going to willing to sit back and conserve their cars. Earnhardt now going by lap traffic. One car sliding up in front of Earnhardt. He weaves his way around, but they're not too concerned. Maybe Earnhardt can use the car up early, and maybe he'll be gone and won't last 300 miles.
Rich Brenner is standing down on pit road down in the Dale Earnhardt pit. Let's go down to Rich.
We are standing in the pit with Dale Earnhardt, crew chief Kurt Somodine. And Kurt, this is a very fine run for you fellas today so far. Are you surprised at the big lead you've got this early in the race?
Well, a little bit. We get a couple of cautions and the other cars get some pit stops. It ought to even up a little bit. We get a chance to adjust on the car.
Seems like almost a foolish question to ask, but is the car handling perfectly, or is there something you can do to make it better?
He says it's pretty good right there.
Okay, thank you. That's it with Dale Earnhardt's pit crew.
I tell you, I really like Kirk Shelmerdine. He is one of the most easygoing, laid-back guys I've ever met in my life. Nothing throws him. Whether Dale Earnhardt is 3 seconds in front of the field or about to get lapped, he always remains cool.
He's got a heck of a poker face, doesn't he? He really can bluff you. I've talked to him a number of times during the races, and he doesn't really let you know what's going on in the pits. You know, you really have to sort of guess when you talk to him, but he's a cool person to have behind pit wall. Now, Earnhardt, certainly a cool customer here. He's won here in Charlotte back in '83. He won the Winn-Dixie 300, and he'd like to win here today. He's never won this race, the Charlotte 300 in the fall, and he would like to win it today.
And I talked to Dale earlier in the week, and he said he really wants to win here. He thinks it would just really be something for him to be able to win both of the Grand National races. That is Robert Ingram Jr., car number 1. That car has already seen a lot of duty today. He had to run the qualifying race just to make the field, and it appears he's having a lot of problems getting that car up to power.
Well, the car now moving slowly down pit road. Robert Ingram, one of the car competitors that's been so competitive up around the Richmond, Virginia area. The Southside Speedway now makes an unscheduled stop.
And the hood goes up on that car, and it looks like it's going to be a long day for Robert Ingram, but he does have the satisfaction of finishing in the top 4 in the qualifying race earlier today and is able to get in the field. Dale Earnhardt is your leader as we have completed 26 laps. Glenn Jarrett is down on pit road. Let's go down to Glenn now.
Okay, I'm checking on the family interest here. I'm in the pits of Dale Jarrett talking to crew chief John Irvin. John, I know it wasn't in your plans early on in this race to fall this far off the pace. Is there a problem with the car?
Glenn, the only problem we got right now is we started the race a little bit tight, and the car is pushing right much in the corner, and we'll get a chance. We're going to make a chassis adjustment as soon as we get in here.
Well, obviously, though, later on you're going to need for that car to be tight because the racetrack will probably get slick. In other words, you were trying to key the car for later on in the race. It's just gotten you behind early on.
That's true, but we really need a caution flag, and for not to be us to make an adjustment here because we're losing so much time to Earnhardt now leading the race.
Okay, that's the story from Dale Jarrett's pit.
You know, I think some of the stories of the crew chiefs on pit road today are just as interesting as some of the drivers, and the crew chief of Dale Jarrett's car is a real interesting story.
You know, John Irvin was a crew chief for Dale's father, Ned Jarrett, when Ned was a 2-time national champion. And when Ned retired, John retired. John became a service station owner up around the Hickory, North Carolina area, and he waited for young Dale to come out and start making his way in the racing world. And when Dale wanted to go full-time Busch Grand National, John said, okay, I'm selling the service station. I'm going to be right there in the pits just like I was with your dad. We're going to make it to the top, and we're going after it. So there's John Irvin. That's quite a story. 20 years ago, he was a crew chief for his dad, and now he's back with the son.
We are now working lap 30 here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. You see the battle for third. Right now, third place owned by car 17. That is Darrell Waltrip. 30 laps under green. When will we start seeing green flag pit stops and these cars have to come in for fuel?
Well, there's a couple of combinations we got to be concerned with. The V8s can go probably around 68 laps, a little over 100 miles. The V6s don't get quite the gas mileage, and the primary reason is they have a little bit bigger carburetor. They run up to an 850 cubic foot per minute carburetor, so they will use a little more gas. They're a little more thirsty. They probably will run about 62 laps for their first fuel stop.
Well, right now we have completed 30 laps, all of them under green. It's been a good, clean race, and Dale Earnhardt is way out in front. Let's take a look at the leaderboard now. Earnhardt with a large lead over L.D. Ottinger, and then it is another couple seconds back to Darrell Waltrip, Brett Bodine, Jeff Bodine, and also in that group running 6th now is Bill Elliott. That's through 30 laps, and we will run 200 to make up the Charlotte 300 here in this Grand National race this afternoon. We'll be back with more racing from Charlotte right after these messages from your local road.
Unscheduled pit stop early for Bill Elliott. Elliott on pit road. There's the Crisco Buick, and the Ed Whitaker car crew will go underneath the hood on the Elliott car, and what a day for Elliott. I mean, you just can't buy any good luck. The Whitaker team can't. The car had run so well and come from 22nd starting spot up into the top 6.
And he had just moved into 5th place on the racetrack. He had passed Davey Allison when apparently something went sour on the engine. Elliott in the 88 car is down on pit road. The hood is up. We'll try to get one of our pit reporters down there in a moment to see what the problem is on the Bill Elliott car. But it doesn't look like a good day at all down for Bill Elliott.
The 30-year-old redhead, you know, set a motorsports record for earnings last year at $2.4 million. It probably will be for a long time before anyone will come close to earning that kind of money in competition. You know, he was hoping to have a good race today. And Ed Whitaker, what a nice guy in this Busch Grand National Series. So many drivers have been with him. He's taken so many youngsters and made them what they are today in Busch Grand National competition, and he was hoping to maybe come back one more time and have a good finish. But the car still sits in the pits. But Earnhardt having his way, and there's the battle back in the pack. As Darrell Waltrip, Brett Bodine, and now Davey Allison, the veteran and 2 young drivers, dicing it up back there for 3rd, 4th, and 5th spot.
Okay, that's your battle. That's your battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th right there. And Brett Bodine is right in the middle of it. Jeff Bodine now is running 6th in the Levi Garrett number 15 car. Also beginning to make a little move is Jack Ingram. We haven't talked about him since the start of the race. This is his first race back, and I'm not sure whether he was cautious at the beginning or what, but Ingram apparently has decided that he'd like to try to move his way up a little bit. He is the leader of the 2nd pack of cars. Larry Pearson is right behind him. And another call we have to make to a guy who has really come on. As you see, Ingram there and Larry Pearson. Right behind them is Donnie Allison in car 23, who has really moved up through the field. Donnie started 37th today, had to qualify in the race earlier this morning. He won that race and has now apparently got car number 23 dialed in, as he is now right behind Larry Pearson and Jack Ingram.
Well, Larry Pearson and Jack Ingram, you see on your screen, Ingram in the green and white New World car, Pearson behind him. And Ingram, you know, he has not been feeling well this week. We understand he had a little bit of a stomach virus, and I talked to some of the crew members down there before the race, and they said there's a possibility if he doesn't feel well, we may have Harry Gant standing by in the pits and put Harry in the car. And particularly if Jack can't get the job done, he's a chance to win that $25,000, plus the fact the point battle is up for grabs, and that could be about $60,000 to win the championship. So if Jack doesn't feel well, we may have to consider that they may bring him in and put Gant in the car to finish this Charlotte 300.
We might mention that Harry Gant drove this number 11 car in one of those races that Jack Ingram was suspended. Glenn Jarrett has made his way down now to the Bill Elliott pit. Let's go down to pit road and see what the problem was on the Elliott car.
Okay, the problem with Bill Elliott's car, the ignition just simply went dead all at once. The engine just cut dead. They cannot get the car to fire again. They have pushed it behind the wall to try and see if they can repair the problem. At this point, though, they have lost so much time in the race that they're going to be way, way behind, pretty much killing Bill's chances to win the race. Bill is in the car right now. We'll see if we can get a word with him. Bill, a real good run early on there. What happened to the car?
It just started messing, like some wrong with the ignition.
Are you going to try to fix it and get back in?
I don't know what they're going to try to do.
Bill is as much in the dark as we are right now, but he said the car just started missing and cut off, and that was it.
We might mention that Bill's in a different situation in this car than he is in his Winston Cup ride, which is the Coors 4 Thunderbird, which he helps work on and set up. He is strictly the driver today for that car.
Well, he is. You know, he had bad luck earlier in the year. He sat on the outside pole at Road Atlanta. The only previous start he's had in this Busch competition at Grand National for 86. He sat on the outside front row and had a good run going. In fact, running in the top 5 with just 5 laps to go when the shifter broke off in his hand. And he ended up finishing, he coasted around and finished 11th, but you can't run a road course if you can't change gears, and so he ended up finishing 11th there. And he said, well, maybe I can come at Charlotte and we'll make up for that. You and me and Ed Whitaker and all the guys will have a good run here, but it looks like it's going to go up in smoke today.
We have Dale Earnhardt has really shot out to a lead. This seems incredible. He leads the second place car, LD Ottinger, by 9.7 seconds. There you see Larry Pollard on the inside, and passing him on the outside, that's the 85 car. Bobby Allison, boy, is he making a move as Donnie Allison has slowed down a bit. Bobby Allison, who has had some tough luck on this Grand National circuit in races of past, but you got to know Bobby Allison. He loves to get out on any kind of race, any kind of surface, anytime, anywhere, and he's given that 85 car a good ride today.
Well, Bobby has started 5 times this year on the Grand National competition. His best run coming up at Indianapolis Raceway Park, a half-mile track up in Indianapolis, Indiana. There's another track up there, too. I think there's Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
That's right,
it.
yeah.
And he finished 6th up there as Mike Bonicelli makes an unscheduled stop early on in the car number 19. But we talked about Bobby Allison won here at Charlotte back in May of '84, so that was his last win on the Busch Grand National Tour. And he's not really faring that well today. He's sort of out there trying to hang on. That's a Jimmy Horton car. He sort of drives it for Horton and tries to put it up toward the front, but they've had their trouble.
It really is not a car that is expected to finish in the top 3 or 4 today. But if you know Bobby Allison, you know he's going to get every possible thing out of that car that he absolutely can today. Right now, your leader still Dale Earnhardt, a 9.7-second lead over the rest of the field. Is that not surprising to you, Jerry Punch?
It really isn't for Earnhardt. You know, he is such a charger, and he loves to charge. You know, we talked about his point battle for the Winston Cup competition, and he is certainly not one to lay back and hold off there. He goes for it all.
Dale Earnhardt on the point of this race. If nothing breaks, it really looks like it's going to be car number 8's day. But in a race like this, anything can happen.
If you're in the armed forces
Race, the field's kind of strung out a little bit. 51 laps are complete here in the Charlotte 300. You're taking a look at the black and silver car of Dale Earnhardt, car number 8. as he slides by yet another racer. And Earnhardt has been done nothing but pass cars all day long today. Dale Earnhardt out of Kannapolis, North Carolina. His wife, Teresa, owns the car, and he says that all the winnings go to her. He never sees the money.
I would imagine, yeah. You know, Earnhardt has had 10 starts, and this is the 11th start this year in Busch competition in Grand National Racing. He's had 4 wins, 3 second places, 1 third in 10 starts. That isn't too bad. In fact, he's led every single race he's entered in Grand National Racing for 86, so there's no doubt he's a competitor. There's the battle back in the pack, Mike.
Well, Brett Bodine now seems to content to just hang in behind Darrell Waltrip and let Darrell Waltrip lead him around this racetrack. Waltrip is in 3rd place. Brett Bodine now is in 4th, and in 5th place is the 28 car of Davey Allison. A good run today for Brett Bodine and for Eldie Ottinger, but Brett Bodine especially, younger brother of Jeff, and trying to prove himself as a good driver in his own right. And I think he's really done that this year on the Busch Grand National Circuit.
Well, I think Brett is really going to school on Darrell Waltrip. He's watching how Waltrip drives the racetrack. He knows how successful Waltrip has been over the years, and he knows that the guy in front of him has 12 years of driving experience on him. Waltrip is 39 years old, Bodine is 27, and those two guys are sort of, you know, Bodine wants to watch Darrell Waltrip. Meanwhile, scheduled pit stops are the order of the day. Here is Eldie Ottinger in the All-Pro car, number 2 in the pits. Elvin Rector and the crew go to work and change right side tires on the Ottinger car as they are down on pit road. It'll be the first green flag stop.
Let's go down to Glenn Jarrett.
Okay, Ottinger's car is in. They have it jacked up. They're changing right side tires. One of the crew members told me that he was having a little problem. The car was a little too tight, so they tried to make a stagger adjustment on the tires. One of the problems with making a green flag stop is you don't have time to make a chassis adjustment other than changing tire staggers. The LD's down and away. It was a pretty good pit stop, but they don't have the time to make the adjustments that they would like to make normally under a pit stop.
Well, Jerry, since we're getting ready to see a rash of pit stops here in a moment, let's talk about the pit crews. They've made such a difference all year long on the Winston Cup and the Busch Grand National Circuit. The experience of the pit crew. Some of these guys have Winston Cup crews working for them today, and here's where it really pays off in these green flag stops.
That's right, under green. In fact, one driver, Davey Allison, has a good bit of the Harry Renier, JT Lundy crew. Will be his crew on the Winston Cup Tour next year. Joey Knuckles, the crew chief, is down there along with the veteran Red Farmer, and they will be changing tires for Allison. That may be an advantage, not so much under caution, but under green, where a second or two is so important while they're out there running 160 miles an hour. That really can cost them some racetrack. So the All-Pro crew, the crew for Eldie Ottinger, is mostly a Busch Grand National regular crew. They had a pretty good stop, though, a little over 15.5 seconds for 2 tires.
One thing we want to watch is Dale Earnhardt, who is now moving up on Tommy Houston. We talked with Tommy Houston before. He ran so well in practice yesterday. Earnhardt now on the bumper of Houston, trying to put Houston a lap down as they come now into turn 3. Earnhardt goes high on the racetrack, and he is going to slide by Houston. Unless Houston is going to come down on pit road, he is not, and Earnhardt will put Tommy Houston a lap down. And you know, when Dale is putting the guy who's running as well as Tommy Houston another lap down, and things are going his way.
Well, Houston, the 9th place car, and now Earnhardt will begin to make a move. The car just in front of Earnhardt is Larry Pearson, the 8th place car. He goes by Larry like Larry threw out an anchor over in turn 2, and now off of 2, Earnhardt is really setting sail. It's, you know, I've got to wonder, he probably wants to stay out as long as he can, but he may not push it too long. He's got a V6, and remember, the V6s don't get quite the fuel mileage the V8s get, so I've got to be concerned. They may want to bring him in maybe this time or next time by, because if he runs out of fuel here, he can, that one lap advantage over many cars can evaporate very quickly.
Dale Earnhardt and only 8 other cars are now on the lead lap. The end of the lead lap now is Jack Ingram in car number 11. He is the next car that Dale Earnhardt will set his sights on. Again, we have completed 57 laps. We'll run 200 today. That makes up the Charlotte 300 miles. It's a mile and a half around this Charlotte Motor Speedway. And Dale Earnhardt has owned every inch of this mile and a half so far today.
You know, he really has. He said that he wanted to come here and he wanted to dominate like Tim Richmond did back in May, and certainly he has done that in the first 57 laps here today. Earnhardt has been the dominant car. There's a couple of cars now rim riding. So there is the battle back in the pack for, that's the 2nd and 3rd place car. That's Waltrip and Brett Bodine. They realize how strong Earnhardt is. They may be saying, well, when is this guy going to pit so we can get a chance to get in ourselves and get some tires and maybe have a chance of running him down. They probably would like to see a yellow flag so they can tighten the field up a little bit and get up and maybe even see Earnhardt again.
It is very unusual to see one driver like Dale Earnhardt is doing today just completely blow the rest of the field away. We haven't seen this in a long time. Brad Teague is down on pit road now in car number 75.
This will be a scheduled stop for Brad Teague in that Food Country car. That's a Pontiac coming to stop, and that's a regular crew, a Grand National crew. They jack the car up. You're only allowed to use the one jack. You can use 2 air impact wrenches down there for the pit stop. They have the right side tires off. The guy leaning in the window there is not just tapping the guy on the shoulder. He's actually adjusting the weight in the right rear of the car, changing the weight distribution. You heard Glenn Jarrett mention how tight some of the cars were to start with. Teague's car down about 22 seconds, a little longer than you would expect from a pit stop from a regular Winston Cup crew, but these guys don't make pit stops on the green very often, so on super speedway, so they aren't that experienced. Teague now moving back on the speedway.
Brad Teague, who was out of Johnson City, Tennessee, is getting his car back up to speed on the back straightaway. Dale Earnhardt now leads the second place car, Darrell Waltrip, by 25 seconds. There is a 25-second difference between Earnhardt and the rest of the field. Absolutely incredible. Running third and having a good day today is Brett Bodine as we take a look at the leaderboard. Davey Allison is fourth and Jeff Bodine is fifth. We'll be back after these words from your local stations. Will be a scheduled pit stop. Let's go down now to Rick Brenner.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt into the pits. His crew over the side of the wall. They're going to be changing the right side tires, taking on a full load of fuel. And Earnhardt taking some liquid refreshment. It's a very hot day, but the interesting thing is he is going to get out of this pit stop on a green flag condition, and he is not going to lose the lead. That's the amazing thing. There he goes, and he is off in just a little over 20 seconds. How about that?
It is amazing what Dale Earnhardt has done today, as we now have 6 cars on the lead lap. Dale Earnhardt still is the leader, and Darrell Waltrip obviously able to close that gap up some, but Waltrip still got to make a pit stop, Jerry.
Well, they still have to come in. Waltrip and Brett Bodine, those 2 cars being shown up front now as they're now slowing. Waltrip's car slowing over in turn 4, and he will make an entry on the pit road as the Budweiser car. That's the Pontiac of Darrell Waltrip, makes its way down pit road for his scheduled stop. There's Earnhardt coming down out of turn 4 down the front straightaway as Darrell Waltrip brings his car skittering to a halt.
Well, Darrell Waltrip again down on pit road. He will take on right side tires, as you see here. And Waltrip having an interesting run today. I know he thinks his car is running good, but it's got to be frustrating when you got a guy doing what Dale Earnhardt has done so far today.
Pretty good pit stop for Waltrip and the crew. A little over 19.5 seconds for Eddie Jones, and that Pontiac, that's a 1978 Pontiac Ventura with a prototype engine on board, moves back on the racetrack. And here's Brett Bodine, the young 27-year-old Chemung, New York driver who currently is second in the points. Here is Bodine in the pits for his scheduled stop.
And we go down to Glenn Jarrett.
And Brett Bodine pulls the Thomas Brothers Country Ham Oldsmobile to a stop. They are changing right side tires, as has everyone so far. Again, no time for a chassis adjustment, just gas and tires. Having a little bit of trouble on the right front tire, seems to be a little bit slow right now. The car is filled with gas. He's down. They have to wait till the air hose is out of the way. Now Brett missed the gear taking off. Looks like he's having some problems. He finally gets underway very, very slowly, though. That is costly. You have to make that time up on the racetrack.
And also on pit road now, Davey Allison, who has been one of the leaders. Davey Allison in car 28 brings his car to a stop. And we see the Harry Ranier team going to work on that car.
That's right. And keep an eye on Allison. There's the Joey Knuckles crew. This is a Winston Cup crew, first-class crew, and they're one of the best at that. Joey Knuckles, the crew chief who will be with that team next year, has already got the right front tire changed. They have the car already fueled and gassed. They're ready to move the car off the jacks and move it down and away. That's the car 98 of Larry Pollard. Here's a 28 of Davey Allison off the jack. Pretty good pit stop. It took a little longer to get fuel in the car, but the pit stop itself, the tire change, was extremely fast at about 17 seconds.
Well, a good stop for Davey Allison. Hopefully he'll be able to gain some ground now on the rest of the field. Davey Allison with a strong run today, and also his dad, Bobby Allison, in this race has also had a strong run here today, but so far the story has been Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt is now again posted as the leader. Jeff Bodine is posted in second place. Jack Ingram in third. Tommy Houston fourth. And Larry Pearson now posted in fifth position, but a number of those cars have yet to make pit stops. We'll be back with more of the racing in Charlotte in a moment. Perfect fall afternoon. Dale Earnhardt is still your leader. There is a car in trouble on the back straightaway.
Out of turn 3, there is Jeff Bodine's car.
I believe he's out of fuel.
I think he is too, and I think they may have stretched it a little bit too far. Robert G., the car owner, and that's the car that Tim Richmond drove to victory here back in May, and now Jeff Bodine may be out of fuel. The car coughing and sputtering down pit road.
And it might be tough to get it restarted, too. We'll have to see. Let's go down out of the Bodine pit and Rich Brenner.
Okay, Mike Hogwood, we are down here in the Jeff Bodine pits, and it seemed like this crew was on standby attention forever. They are sticking some ether into the carburetor to get it started again. Apparently, he ran out of gas. So while they're refueling it, they're also putting on right side tires. It's been a disappointing day so far for Jeff Bodine.
18-second pit stop for Bodine, but that doesn't reflect the time he lost on the racetrack, Mike, because the car actually slowed coming off of turn 2. He rolled the entire length of the backstretch and around turns 3 and 4. It probably cost him well over a minute and a lot of time on the racetrack.
Also down on pit road now is Donnie Allison, who has had a good run today after winning the qualifying race earlier this morning. And this is really going to shake up the standings and who's on the lead lap and who's not, and it's really going to hurt Jeff Bodine. And once we get all these pit stops out of the way here, we'll sort the field back out for you. But I can tell you that with 72 laps complete, that the number 1 position is not going to change a bit. The rest of it may shift up and down a little bit, but Dale Earnhardt is still going to be the leader of this race, and he's going to be the leader by a whole bunch. Right now posted in the second position is the 0-1 car. That is car 11. Well, it's car number 11 is posted on the scoreboard as 0-1. I started to say there's not a 0-1 in the race. That's awfully strange. But that is the 11 car. Now they've changed it correctly. That's Jack Ingram.
And Jack is yet to pit, but they're getting ready to bring him in next time by as their crew down there, Roy Lee Jones, are down waiting the crew to bring that car number 11, the Skoll car. That's the Pontiac for Ingram. He should be making his pit stop this time. He ran 72 or 73 laps. That's quite a way on 1 tank of fuel, 22 gallons. So Ingram ready for his routine stop.
Well, I just saw Jimmy Hensley come down on pit road. He stopped and they waved him on. He's had some interesting pit stops here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. You remember back in May, he's the guy that had the gas can stuck in his car as he rode it around the racetrack. And Hensley apparently with some problems, he came down. And now Jack Ingram, as you see, in the Skoll car number 11. They call him Iron Man Jack. He is down on pit road, and the right side's where they're going to change tires. Let's go down now to Glen Jarrett.
And Jack Ingram has brought the Skoll Bandit number 11 Oldsmobile into the pits for a routine stop. They are changing right side tires, filling up with fuel. Jack seems to be pretty calm in there. Doesn't look to be nothing out of the ordinary. They come to the left side now, having a little bit of trouble with the fuel. That's unusual that it takes longer to fuel the car than it does to change the tires. So the guys changing the tires did a fantastic job there. He's down and away.
Well, they don't have fuel gauges on this car, but imagine if they did. Ingram's, like the rest of them, will be pretty close to E down here by this time of the race.
Like the song says, running on empty. He probably used about 21.8 gallons. I'm sure they realized they put 2 full cans in the car.
And that does take a while. 73 laps complete. Dale Earnhardt is the leader. We'll come back to more racing in Charlotte after these words from your local stations. Hey, apparently there is some debris or something on the racetrack. NASCAR officials have seen it, and the yellow flag is out. The field will slow down with Dale Earnhardt out in front. Bobby Allison has moved into second place, still on the lead lap as we take a look at the leaders. Larry Pearson is being posted as the 3rd place car, but I believe he still has to pit, Jerry Punch.
Well, both Allison and Pearson, Bobby Allison and Larry Pearson, have yet to make their pit stops, so they should be coming in now. This caution will be a break for both those drivers. Earnhardt has already pitted. Ottinger has already pitted, as is Waltrip. So now everyone will make an entry on the pit road here. Looks like feeding time at the zoo. Here's Earnhardt in, Brett Bodine. All the leaders are in the pits.
It's interesting to note here that most of them probably will go now to the left side and try to match up the tires just a little bit more, because on the green flag they're only able to change 2 tires, and this way kind of get a semblance of a match set of race tires and be able to go out there and really try to gain some ground on that car, Dale Earnhardt.
That's exactly what they will do, Mike. You saw the Goodwrench crew changing left side tires for Earnhardt, and here's the All-Pro crew there. That's the Ottinger car, who had such a strong run early on, changing left side. Under NASCAR rules, you're only allowed to make a 2-tire change under caution. You can change 2 left or 2 right or whatever, any combination, but only 2 tires. So under green, you can change as many as you want to. And now Ottinger a little bit slower getting out. Fortunately, they're under caution, so it doesn't really hurt him. But now they're pushing the Bobby Allison car. They get that car fired. So I'm sure Allison probably ran out of fuel, and that caution was a break for him.
Well, we are working now lap 80, and again we are under caution, and Here come another batch of cars headed down pit road. It gets kind of crowded when you get down to caution like this. This is the first caution of the day. There was a race record 11 cautions set in 1984, and the way this race has gone to now, it doesn't look like we might see that today. But there's still plenty of racing left, and we might see anything so far.
And Larry Pearson making his first pit stop of the day, the Chattanooga 2 Chevrolet Nova. He has a V8 engine in the car, a Ben Barnes prepared V8, and he's got his brothers Ricky and Eddie down there, as well as Dad David helping to pit the car. They will come in and make a 2-tire change, right side tires, as he's now down and away. Pretty good stop. And in fact, they were able to go quite a way on fuel, indicates they may be a contender yet before this day's over.
Well, Larry Pearson, who, as we mentioned early, was dropping back a bit, and his crew didn't seem concerned at all about it, and with good reason, because Larry Pearson is now well up there behind Dale Earnhardt and is still on the lead lap, has a full tank of fuel, and really made up some ground by being able to pit under the caution.
Well, just the name Pearson in itself indicates that you got to think about the Silver Fox, David, his father, who never showed his hand early in a race, always sort of sat back, took care of the car, didn't abuse it, didn't use it up, and he knows his son Larry has a chance to win this point championship. He's 6 points ahead of Brett Bodine and some 79 in front of Ingram. So if he can hang on this race and 2 or 3 more, he can take home around $60,000 in that coveted Busch Grand National Championship.
That wouldn't be bad. Let's go down now to the Jeff Bodine pit. Rich Brenner is standing by.
Well, as we mentioned on the last pit stop for Jeff Bodine, it has not been a particularly good day for him at this point. He has already been in once. The hood has gone up. He's back out there. I'm standing with Rick Hendrick, the car owner. And Rick, what's the problem with Jeff's car? I noticed he's just come right back in.
Ignition problem. Trying to fix it. We changed the ignition boxes. We're not sure that's the only problem. We're changing left side tires to go back out. We'll change the ignition box again on this. Might be a plug wire. We don't know yet.
Well, to say the least, it's been a frustrating day, but it's been Dale Earnhardt's day so far.
Sorry?
It's been a frustrating day so far, but at least it's been Dale's day.
Yeah, we've run awful good here before, but this doesn't look like it's going to be our day.
Okay, that's Rick Hendrick, the car owner of Jeff Bodine's number 15 car, having ignition problems, and it's been a bad day so far.
Well, that's certainly bad news for a lot of fans of Jeff Bodine, as he got quite a cheer in the driver introductions earlier today. And Dale Earnhardt looks like one of the strong competitors, as Bodine was sitting on the front row, is just maybe gone a little bit by the wayside, as Bodine will just have to try to hang in there for the rest of the day. 81 of 200 laps are complete. Your leader is Dale Earnhardt. Running second now is L.D. Ottinger, who ran second early in this race. Bobby Allison is third, Larry Pearson fourth, and Darrell Waltrip in car number 17 is running fifth. The pace car is headed down pit road. And, Jerry, we are ready to go back to green racing. Let's see what happens now that the rest of the field has caught up with Dale Earnhardt. And it's Davey Allison who is right on his bumper. Davey is posted now as a lap down, I believe. It's going to try to get that lap back. Allison in car number 28, right behind Dale Earnhardt. And Earnhardt, again, as soon as he punched the throttle, just shot right out past the rest of the field. Allison needs to be the only car that's able to hang with it.
Well, yesterday in practice, Davey Allison was extremely strong. He went by Ingram and went by Brett Bodine and Jeff Bodine in the car he's driving, the red, white numeral car number 28. But today it's been a little bit different. Now we'll see if that tire
Oh, my! Touching the wall in turn 4 was Jack Ingram.
Oh, Ingram got a Charlotte stripe on the right side of his car, that Oldsmobile of Jack Ingram. He's running back in third spot. That could have been disastrous for his point championship hopes. And there's Ingram in that green and white numeral number 11, 5-time national champion. Just tapped the wall, got it straightened back out. A pretty good job of driving, Mike.
That's what years of experience will do for you, because a lot of the inexperienced drivers, that happens to them, and then they're all over the racetrack. Well, Earnhardt has shot right back out to at least a 6-7 car length lead. 10 car lengths now over Davey Allison, who is a lap down, and running second is L.D. Ottinger. A good 25-30 car lengths now behind the leader, Dale Earnhardt. So the caution may have bunched them up together, but it didn't take Dale Earnhardt long to get back out in front and be dominating again. And made an unscheduled pit stop just a moment ago. Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt continues to pull away. Well, it was a costly stop for Jack Ingram, who has a lot of ground to make up the points championship. And here he comes back down pit road again. It looks like another unscheduled stop, and whatever the problem was then, they didn't fix it. But Ingram really tapped the wall pretty hard there coming out of turn 4.
And they have Harry Gant standing by in the Ingram pits. Gant now buckling up his helmet and possibly will get a driver change. We mentioned earlier that Ingram had not been feeling well, had been under the weather, and there is Gant standing behind the wall with his helmet on, as Rich Brenner now standing by in the Jack Ingram pit.
That's right, Jerry. We're here with in Jack Ingram's pits. There is some damage to the right front corner panel. That happened when he tagged the wall up in turn 4 for a while there. It looked like Harry Gant was getting ready to go into the car. Harry's got his helmet. He's standing here right now, and he's speaking with some people in the pits. Harry, it looks like you're getting ready to go in and race for Jack. What's the problem?
Well, it's a little bit hot. He hadn't run in a couple of weeks, and he hurt his rib here a while back, and it's not got healed yet. That is bothering him right smart on the racetrack here. The seat rubbing his side.
Well, I know you're getting ready to go in. Are you definitely going to go in, or are you here just on a standby basis?
I'm just standing by. He said to stand by. You know, he let me know if he needed me to stand by, so I've been watching the race. They come down and said, I better come up here and stand by. He's having a little trouble.
How bad is the damage to the right side corner panel?
I don't know.
Okay, back up to you guys.
Okay, that's the story from Harry, and I expect we will see him for this day's out.
You know, the last time Ingram won on the Super Speedway was back at Darlington in '85 last year, and the same thing happened. He got ill in the car, and Harry Gant climbed in the car about halfway through the race down there and rode the car into victory lane. So I know that Ingram would like to finish the race. They call him the Iron Man because he's so competitive and he's such a hard charger, but he hasn't been feeling well, and he was injured in a crash earlier in the year, so maybe he'll have to climb out, and maybe they're going to bring him down pit road again, and we'll see if Harry Gant will climb in the car.
Well, Harry is stepping up, and we'll see now if we do make a driver change down there, as here comes Jack Ingram. There are only 5 cars on the lead lap right now. This field is really strung out. Only 5, as you see the crew members sticking their head in, trying to find out from Jack if he's okay and can continue. And apparently there are some other serious problems on the car other than just the driver.
Well, they saw one of the crew chiefs, Owen Edwards, stick his head in the window and look at the gauges, and that's never a good indication when Jack Ingram thinks something may be going wrong with the gauges. You know, Ingram, the winningest driver in Busch Grand National history. In the past 5 years, he's won over 40 races. In fact, he's won 30 times, I should say. The next most active driver, would be Tommy Houston with 13 wins. So Ingram certainly has been a dominant driver. He's won 5 times this year, all of the short tracks, as they finish the service on his car and put him back on the track.
49-year-old Jack Ingram out of Asheville, North Carolina. Here are the 5 cars on the lead lap. Dale Earnhardt, L.D. Ottinger, Bobby Allison in car 85, Larry Pearson in 21, and Darrell Waltrip in 17. 92 of the 200-lap run, and we just have 5 cars on the lead lap. Now, that is surprising in a race like this, as many competitive cars as we have out here.
It is surprising, and I think that a lot of people felt earlier that it would be a lot closer than it is right now. There are a couple of cars going by. This is Brett Bodine being shown on the screen. Bodine back there in the... Not hard to find that Day-Glow fluorescent orange 00 for Bodine on the racetrack.
Well, whoever had a tough time finding that car before is not going to have a tough time figuring it out now, I can tell you. I think you call that color rocket red. Whatever it is really bright and stands out there. Let's go down now, back down to pit road and Rich Brenner.
Well, Mike, there's a tremendous frustration here in the pits of car number 11, the Iron Man, Jack Ingram. He pulled it in again. Apparently, they've got something really wrong in the right front of the car. It's not handling well. We noticed him out on the track. He's not moving well at all. When he came into the pits the last time, he was just, the disgust on his face was there. He was very, very upset. He's probably just going out there now and just running for points because he knows he's not a factor. Again, Harry Gant is standing by to take over the ride if need be, but a tremendously disappointing day so far for car number 11, Jack Ingram.
Well, as disappointing as it's been for Jack, it's been just the other way for Dale Earnhardt. I tell you, Ingram going a lot of laps down now with his unscheduled pit stops. He was 85 points behind Larry Pearson coming into this race, and he's going to drop down even more, may even drop out of contention for that championship here. There you see the second place car. That is L.D. Ottinger, car number 2, a 2-time Grand National champion, a Grand National regular. Coming up there on the inside, that is Jeff Bodine. He is being posted as a lap down, but Bodine is really moving, trying to catch Dale Earnhardt and somehow get that lap back. But you know, I think with the way that Earnhardt's running today, anybody a lap down right now is going to have a tough time being able to get it back.
I don't foresee anyone having a break or having a shot at Earnhardt right now as strong as he's running. However, that car that we're looking at there, the Jeff Bodine car, was so dominant here back in May with Tim Richmond aboard. The car won both May races this year and last year, and this is the car that Jeff Bodine ran second in this race last year to Terry Labonte. So the car is capable of running awfully well. It's a Robert G prepared car. It has a V8 engine in it, so it gets pretty good gas mileage, a small carburetor, and maybe Jeff Bodine, who is a super race car driver, can climb back toward the front and maybe make a run at his old nemesis, Dale Earnhardt.
Well, the problems that Rick Hendrick alluded to a few moments ago apparently are solved on that car, but Rick said they may be having some ignition problems or something, but it doesn't appear that there's anything wrong with that car right now. Jeff Bodine is flying, but nobody has been able to run even close to car number 8, Dale Earnhardt. And what is it that makes a car like Dale's come on a track today when everybody has virtually the same type of pieces, same type of equipment, be as dominant as Dale's is today?
You really don't know. You know, the Earnhardt car is strong. It's dialed in. He has Kirk Shelburne down there, the crew chief on his Winston Cup car, and they have had an awfully good season as they lead the Winston Cup points now going down the stretch, trying to hold off the likes of Tim Richmond and Darrell Waltrip, and that'll be tough to do, but Earnhardt has run awfully well in the Busch Grand National competition. Wins at Daytona, Rockingham, as well as Darlington and Richmond. He's only entered 10 races, as I said before, and he's won 4 times. So he's been very competitive, and he has that new Chevrolet V6, and it's awfully strong. You know, the one question mark, Mike, about the V6 was the reliability factor. Would it live for 300 miles at over 160 miles an hour? Can it hold up? Well, we're going to find out today because Earnhardt certainly isn't babying that engine. He is pushing it full bore here all afternoon.
Earnhardt's lead now over the rest of the field, 12.26 seconds. More racing here in Charlotte after these words from your local station. Darrell Waltrip's back on the lead lap. Bobby Allison, Larry Pearson, and Tommy Houston are a lap down. 54 laps remain in this 300-mile race.
Trouble over in turn 2. One car taps the wall. That's Rodney Howard's car number 24. Flames from beneath the car. That's the Ford Thunderbird. That's flame, and Howard throws the net out, is trying to climb out of the car. He appears to be awake and alert as
you see, the gas tank is on fire, and Howard is trying to get out of the car as quickly as he possibly can.
And he's out of the car, runs away. The safety crews are on the scene immediately, and they will begin spraying, and Howard now sitting down in disgust. Fortunately, he was able to get out of the car, but apparently tapping that wall, the fuel cell took a pretty good lick over there, and a lot of flames beneath the car.
Well, Rodney Howard, let's hope he's okay. As you see him sitting down on the grass, you know it had to really smarted when you hit the wall. Plus, as you can see, it got quite warm inside that car. Rodney Howard, who is laying down now, and as his car has brushed the wall, that brings out caution. It will be a break for Darrell Waltrip, as we have said. Howard out of Greenville, South Carolina, in the Thaxton Racing Ford, and you see it there still on fire.
Let's see what happened to the Rodney Howard car. The 22-year-old young driver who formerly ran Charlotte Daytona Dash. His car is already up across the racetrack into the wall as a couple of other cars involved. The car number 90 of Haskell Willingham gets in contact with another couple of cars spinning. Here is Howard's car on fire coming down across the racetrack as Brett Hearn's car slides by. And again, it will come into contact with the inside guardrail. It will pop the guardrail, come back out to a halt, and the young driver will try to unbuckle and get out as he has done. And now safety crews are there to extinguish the flames.
Boy, there were some serious flames coming out of the bottom of that car. That was a scary sight out there, and there is now smoke pouring out of that race car just at the exit of turn 2 out on the far side of the racetrack. And I believe that is going to put Darrell Waltrip on the same lap now as Dale Earnhardt.
And Earnhardt just coming out of the pits there, both he and Waltrip, in fact, everyone in the pits as he slides by. And there was Larry Pearson's car number 21 down the pit road, but there's Earnhardt moving back on the track. And we will check with timing and check with scoring and see what the status is on the Waltrip and Earnhardt battle. And there's the aftermath of the red Thaxton Ford Thunderbird. That was a former Bud Moore car, a car that Bud Moore ran on the Winston Cup competition back in the late 70s. 1980 Ford Thunderbird for Bud Moore, and that car will be pretty well pulled out the pasture.
Well, we understand that was a break, that caution, if you can call that a break. But certainly 22-year-old Rodney Howard, we will be checking on his condition. But Darrell Waltrip, Larry Pearson, and Bobby Allison had not pitted. They are all three back on the lead lap. So, well, if anything has happened to slow Earnhardt down, we may have a race again, as we now have 4 cars back on the lead lap. Earnhardt had lapped the field. We are under caution now, and Earnhardt is still the leader, but Waltrip, Pearson, and Allison are back on the lead lap.
Well, there's Larry Pearson now back in the pits in the Chattanooga Chew car. That's a Chevrolet Nova, as they are just topping the tank off. They shouldn't worry about fuel. They went 80 laps early in the race on a tank of fuel, so they came in and topped it off. A couple other cars in the pits, Billy Standridge, as you see now, the safety crews removing Rodney Howard. There were 2 or 3 other cars involved as they went spinning over out of turn 2. And we mentioned Haskell Willingham's car number 90 was one of the cars involved, as he was involved in the lower part of the racetrack. But Rodney Howard, the most seriously involved as far as tapping the wall. He didn't tap it. He really hit it a ton, as they say, over out of turn 2, and the car flames from beneath the car. And it speaks well for the fact that the car was constructed, the roll cage to protect the driver, the safety harness, the window netting, everything there for the driver's safety. But you see the front of that Ford Thunderbird shoved back some 6, maybe 8 feet toward the firewall. And now safety crews have taken the driver, who, and we saw climb out of the car and jump over the wall, and hopefully he'll be taken in for a routine check.
All right, we certainly hope the best for Rodney Howard, as again there is caution on the speedway. 147, 200 laps complete. Earnhardt's the leader. We'll be back with more of the racing at Charlotte in a moment. Darrell Waltrip, Larry Pearson are all on the lead lap. Bobby Allison and L.D. Ottinger are a lap down at the moment. Still looks like car number 8's race. Well, there are now 9 laps to go here in this race. Earnhardt is the leader, as he has been most of the day. Let's go down now to pit road in Glen Jarrett.
With only 9 laps left, it looks like you guys have pretty well got things in the bag. Counting the laps down now?
Yeah.
Has it been as easy as it looked?
Really, it has for us. Dale's been doing all the work. We just changed a few tires.
Pretty easy day from the crew standpoint then.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if every day at the racetrack was like this for the crew chief, huh?
Yeah, I'd like for tomorrow to go like this.
Has Dale had any problems of any sort all day?
Well, there's been a lot of debris on the track. Got to kind of watch out for that and change the line a little bit, but that isn't too big of a problem.
Other than changing your groove, that's the only problem Dale Earnhardt has had all day. It's been pretty much his day from start to finish here, and it looks like, barring any unforeseen disasters in the next 8 laps, that Dale Earnhardt will win his 2nd race in a row at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Well, we will count them down. 7 laps to go, and Kirk Shelverdine, he kind of has that sly look on his face again, and he's a fun interview. I think he ought to start his own TV show.
It's hard to get him to be quiet, and you know, he's a man of few words. We got a pretty good battle heating up. The one you see on the racetrack there is Brett Bodine in the Dayglow orange car. Then comes Davey Allison, then Mike Alexander. They're battling Mike back for 7th, 8th, and 9th spots.
And it's Brett Bodine who owns that 7th position now on the racetrack, and in 8th it's Davey Allison. 9th is car number 84, Mike Alexander. And there are now 6 laps remaining. 6 laps to go. 194 are complete. We'll run 200 here as Brett Bodine, Davey Allison, and Mike Alexander all plotting their strategy. They know they're not going to win, but they all want to fight for position on the racetrack and finish as high as they can. They're all strong competitors.
Well, you know, it's not that important for Davey Allison and Mike Alexander. Sure, finishing 7th may help them. They get a few extra dollars. It's a few thousand more dollars, but it's very, very important for Brett Bodine, the young driver who's in that point battle. He needs to finish as far up as he can. He knows that Larry Pearson is currently running in 3rd spot, and barring any unforeseen problems, will finish in 3rd. He needs to hang on to 7th, but right now, the young 25-year-old Davey Allison is making a move.
Well, they come on the back straightaway, and Allison pulls up right beside him, and now Allison down low on the racetrack as they go into turn 3. It's Bodine who is up high running the high line and is trying to fight him off, but it looks like Allison, with some help and a little push down low from Mike Alexander, might be able to take him. But Brett Bodine shows a lot of fight and a lot of strength, and now as they enter into turn 1, it's going to be Davey Allison. Now now Brett Bodine comes back as they come through turn 2, and they will fight side by side. That's really a good battle there, Jerry.
That could be a preview of what you're going to see next year on the Champion Spark Plug Rookie of the Year battle from the Winston Cup Tour. Davey Allison already has a ride in the Harry Ranier car, and we understand that Brett Bodine may be offered the Hoss Ellington ride that Sterling Marlin just vacated last week. So these two youngsters may be battling it out for rookie honors next year, but to now, they're battling.
And they come close and just touch coming out of turn 4. Allison and Bodine get together. They are really fighting it tooth and nail. 4 laps to go here in this race. Dale Earnhardt has the field covered, but you would think that those two cars are battling for the lead, and it seems as though Davey just kind of backed out a little bit and let him go by. Brett Bodine now with a couple car length lead.
Well, I'm sure Davey's tire is getting heated up a little bit, and Davey waving. You saw him in the windshield now signaling back to Mike Alexander. Mike actually backed off and allowed Davey to get back up in the groove. That's good sportsmanship there, as both Alexander and Allison now losing some ground to Brett Bodine. The laps are winding down. They got to take a shot. They only got a couple laps to go.
3 laps to go. There are 3 laps remaining. We're on lap 197. We run 300 miles in this race here at Charlotte, this Busch Grand National event, and Dale Earnhardt has had the field covered from the word go. He won the pole and hasn't looked back since. There are now 2 laps remaining as Dale Earnhardt takes his machine into turn 2, and he will come down the back straightaway. Next time by, Dale Earnhardt will get the white flag as you see Brett Bodine, who is still holding off Davey Allison. And here towards the end of the race, it looks like a blown engine for Tommy Houston. There is smoke coming out of Houston's car, and they are waving him down low. I have not seen a caution flag come out, and there does not appear to be a caution flag that will come out, but there is heavy smoke coming out from Tommy Houston's car. The white flag is out. Here's the final lap for Dale Earnhardt. As you see the trail of smoke left by Tommy Houston, so I'm sure Earnhardt will take it easy as he heads in turn 2 and comes down the back straightaway. Earnhardt going for the win here at Charlotte. This is his home racetrack. He's on the back straightaway. Again, he is at least a 10-second lead over the second-place car of Darrell Waltrip. Heads it into turn 3, and Tommy Houston will pull his car down and still try to take a checkered flag. Here comes Earnhardt out of turn 4, and Earnhardt will just kind of coast home to a victory as the checkered flag is out, and Dale Earnhardt has won the All-Pro Auto Parts 300 here in Charlotte. Darrell Waltrip will finish 2nd. Larry Pearson will finish 3rd. And it looks like Brett Bodine has got the best of Davey Allison as they head through turn 4. Here they come. Allison comes down low, and Allison gets that car sideways. He's going to go spinning along the front straightaway. Allison trying to maintain control of that car. He does. And it's Brett Bodine finishing 7th. But boy, did the crowd finally get something to yell about here in this race today.
And Davey Allison did one heck of a job to keep that car from coming. He spins the car back around, gets it fired. He must come down pit road and come by the start-finish line, which will be extended across pit road. And now the checkered flag still waving for Davey Allison. What a heck of a job in driving he did to keep that car out of the pit wall.
Well, we waited all day for the exciting moment of the race, and there it was as Brett Bodine beat Davey Allison out for that 7th position. And there's your winner. There's the crew. What a job they have all done today. Dale Earnhardt, the winner here. He had the field covered all day long. He pulls that car into victory lane. Our pit reporters will be making their way over there in just a few moments. And Dale Earnhardt, the winner here in the All-Pro Auto Parts 300. Let's take a look at the unofficial results. There were only 3 cars on the lead lap at the end of the race. Earnhardt, of course, the winner. The Darrell Waltrip 2nd. Larry Pearson, who was the top Busch Grand National driver, he finished 3rd. And Bobby Allison 4th. Jeff Bodine 5th. Those last 2 cars were a lap down. Rich Brenner is down in victory lane with the winner of today's race, Dale Earnhardt. Let's go down to victory lane now, and here's Rich.
We're in victory lane with Dale Earnhardt. And Dale, I know they're going to say you made it look easy out there, but driving a 3,350-pound race car on a day like this is not easy work.
Well, it's not. All my guys did a super job with the car. Good wrench sponsorship, Wrangler and Fisher Engines in California. Everybody just did a real good job all week with the car. We sat on the pole and won the race. And, it's just a great day for us.
Well, there were 2 classes of race cars out there, Dale Earnhardt's and everybody else's. This car was set up perfectly, it looked like, from the very beginning.
Well, we made some changes yesterday afternoon. We weren't too good, but we made some changes after the last practice. Jake Eller set the car up for us, and he helped us an awful lot, and a lot of the credit goes to Jake Eller, and so it was just a good job for everybody involved today.
Everybody's talking about the difference between V6s and V8 engines. You were running the V6. You're an old V8 man. I think you like this V6, and everybody's saying today the V6 was, without question, the superior car.
Well, I knew once we got the car worked out, you know, we were a little bit off in May here, and Tim was beating us, and he won the race with the V8, but we got this car worked around and adjusted up, and, you know, it proves the V6 is the thing to do.
Well, there's an old saying in racing that when you have such a big lead and you're going into those last few laps, you start hearing all these strange noises in the race car. Were you hearing anything out there today?
Hearing and feeling. You know, I was looking and watching everybody I was catching, and, you know, that's a bad time of the race for me, really. I just soon get it over with quick.
Well, typical Dale Earnhardt race, too. He never let up.
Well, you know, that's the way we wanted to run this. When it handled good, it was running this, you know, good at its pace, and every time I tried to slow down and pace myself, I wouldn't make a good line, so I just kept running my comfortable pace, and that was fast pace.
Dale, congratulations on an excellent race. Your winner in victory lane, Dale Earnhardt.
Oh, Dale Earnhardt has a lot to smile about. I've been to a lot of races. I don't think I have seen one where one guy has been as dominant as Earnhardt was here today. Well, Glenn Jarrett has made his way over to the garage area now and is with our second-place finisher.
We're standing by with Darrell Waltrip. Darrell, tough run, but there just wasn't no catching that number 8 today.
No, I guess we won our class, you'd say. Not trying to make any excuses. That's a fast car. We saw that the last couple of times we run against it. So we're going to get us a V6.
Well, do you think that was the difference in the cars today, the fact that he had the V6 and 100 pounds less?
Well, the V6, 100 pounds and a half-inch more rear spoiler, all those things complement a day like today.
Well, you made adjustments on your car all day long. Did you get it to your liking?
It's close. Shorter run it wide open. That's about all other we could have done.
Well, there's not much more he can do other than run it wide open around the racetrack. This car has had a lot of success here, though.
It's the car Terry drove to victory last year, and I think you could see it take Earnhardt out of the picture with the V6, and we'd have been the class of the field, so that's all you can ask for.
Okay, that's the story. Darrell Waltrip in a hard-earned second-place finish.
Well, Jerry Punch, it was Dale Earnhardt's day all day long. Led all but 6 laps. Had it easy as pie out there. At least that's the way it looked to me.
Well, I don't know that he had it easy, but he made it look easy on the racetrack. Earnhardt is an aggressive driver. He drives his kind of race. He never lets up. He had a command all afternoon. The car was dominant. He was dominant. It was just the kind of day that every race driver dreams about. And before we leave, I'd like to mention the point battle we talked about at the top of the show. Larry Pearson finishing third. One of the top Busch Grand National Series regular, will increase his point lead from 6 points to 25 points over Brett Bodine, who finished 7th, and the 5-time national champion Jack Ingram will finish 15th. He will fall further behind, but still in the hunt with 3 races left.
Well, there were only 2 cautions today for 15 laps. That's the fewest ever in this race. It was a good, clean race. And Jerry Punch, as always, a pleasure working with you. Thanks for lending your expertise, and thanks to our pit reporters, Rich Brenner and Glenn Jarrett. I'm Mike Hogwood. The winner in the All-Pro Auto Parts 300 is Dale Earnhardt. Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions' exclusive presentation of the Charlotte 300 has been brought to you by Connor Homes, America's leader in mobile homes. And by Citgo, the tough guys.